make. We have a lot to talk about. And then also joining us today, so I think is I'm gonna ask you 2 questions. Okay? I'll do it.
How we starting with this?
I'm getting to it. I'm getting to it. So I put spoiler in the tag in the title. So but I guess since we roll it now, before we really get in this discussion / review. So if you have not beaten the game, or if you have not seen at least up to like chapter 14, because right now that's kind of the part that I'm on hard mode. So if you haven't seen any of that, back away. Do it for yourself and come back later. So with that being said, the 2 questions I'm going to ask you are, they're kind of the same, but they're not the same. I'm going to ask you, how did you feel about the game as far as, and I want you to answer this with a, let's say, a critical opinion, like critical review, and a personal review / opinion.
Okay. So you won't be getting to some heavy All right. That's fine. I have no problem with that. That actually works out. So, being critical about this game, I'm pretty sure people have been watching reviews. They've already seen some of the major complaints. Some of the complaints I feel like weren't really complaints. It was just something to complain about. But I'll bring up some of them.
Bless you.
But I'll start from the beginning. The game absolutely did an amazing job at finding some way to pull what we felt a new look. Like, they absolutely killed it. But they also changed a lot of odd things that I wasn't quite sure of why they changed it. And I'll get into that later with some of the spoiler stuff. But critically speaking, I'll even start with problems that I had in the game. And I know you kind of mirrored this one. One of the major problems that I had with this game was the camera.
Man,
I was able to deal with it, but it wasn't intuitive. Like, most games, when you have problems with cameras, the lock-on feature usually fixes that problem. In this game, it does not.
Yeah.
So it's like one of those things where you do constantly have to maneuver yourself or move the camera around so that you aren't in a situation where you can't see certain things. Like, you should never have a situation where the enemy you're attacking is somehow under your screen. And they do that quite often in the game, where the enemy will move, your character will still be swinging at the enemy, but the enemy is off screen. And I don't know how or why they didn't find a way to dynamically center the camera to better accommodate for that.
Yeah.
Another major issue that I had with the game was when they felt that certain things weren't important as far as visuals go, the textures look absolutely bad. Like, the areas that they wanted you to pay attention to, gorgeous. Game looks amazing, like, great, no problems. But then when they're like, well, we don't want you to focus on that. We really want you to focus on these two characters, or we really want you to focus on this other thing over here. Half of it is rendered and the other half is not. And that was kind of shocking to me, that they really left that part of the game so unfinished. Like, I was expecting when the game came out there would be like a day 1 patch, or at least, you know, within like this week there would have been like some sort of graphical update, like some sort of graphics patch.
Yeah, I expected the same.
Still don't have anything. So I'm wondering, are they gonna fix it at some point? But we can get into more of that later too, because I just keeping with the flow of this critical part of the review. Other things I hated are a little bit more spoiler, so I'm not really gonna get into that. But I will say the graphics, the camera, and I'll just say graphics overall were some of the worst parts. And oh, actually, I do have one more. And people complain about this a lot. I don't feel like it's as bad as everybody's complaining about. But being someone who is going through hard mode just to get through hard mode, I see where this is a problem. Playing the game, it wasn't a problem because I was there to enjoy the experience, which most people apparently don't seem to do when they play games. The amount of times when you can tell that the game is loading by how many times they make you walk.
Yeah. I already know what you're about to get into.
Yeah, so there are too many moments where it's like, oh yeah, you're in this new area, and I know they're trying to make it a little bit more dynamic to kind of like keep you, you know, immersed in the story and invested, but it kind of breaks the immersion when sitting in a situation where you're moving about and you're trying to get somewhere and the game is just making you walk. Like, there's clearly a way for you to run, but the game doesn't want you to run because it hasn't finished.
Exactly.
And there's no fixing that. That was a design, and there is absolutely no fixing that. Not no. But that did pad out some of the time for the game. I ended up beating the original, like the normal mode, at about 45 hours.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, I'll say about 45. So, I feel like outside of like idle time, which probably would shave off like 2 hours of me like leaving the game running while I was running and doing something.
Yo, what's
outside
good?
Outside of that, yeah, the decant trade. So, yeah, it was just a lot of moments where the story or the game was slowed down, and they did it for dramatic effect, and it worked out. But you could really tell that they were just trying to like compensate for other things that were going on in the background. Most people still don't realize that in common nowadays situations. They don't understand how game design works. Like let's say in God of War, when they have Kratos walking through like short like corridors, we have to like climb through something very slowly. That's just the game loading. It was going through that. You were just kind of like, all right, trying to get through. But once again, you don't really pay attention to it until you are trying to rush through the game.
Until you're trying to get through.
Game, it wasn't a problem. Yeah, and that's what I was saying. Like, I didn't really get that problem until I started hard mode. Because, I mean, I've seen most of the stuff, so either I'll watch it again or I'll just skip it, and then I'll just keep going, and then the game is slowing me down, and I'm like, I'm just trying to get through it. Like, trying to go back and get manuscripts that I missed, that's already, like, becoming a bit of a problem, dealing with the amount of slow-down walking moments that we had in the chapter that I missed one. But, to kind of tear off of the bad, I'll go into things that I absolutely thought they did amazing. One, the actual graphics, when they really want you to look at it, gorgeous. Like I said before, it was one of the highlights that I had, and still one of the highlights that I have about the game. The game just looks great, no matter what.
Was never in doubt.
Another major thing that I liked is the combat system. A lot of people will compare it to other Final Fantasy games, which I'll agree. They did pull a lot of elements from which Final Fantasy. They pulled an element from 13. They definitely pulled elements from 15. But obviously they pulled some really good elements from 7 itself. And it is definitely what I call a perfected battle system. I'm not saying that, oh man, this is the best battle system in the world. But for what this game was supposed to
they took from 9 as well.
This battle system was absolutely what it needs to be. Now for classic mode, I see that they try to appeal to an audience of people who they took from 9. Oh yeah, they also took from 9. I can't remember what particular aspect you're saying that they took from 9. You want to kind of give us a
I would like to know also
a bone here, because I actually didn't play through 9, but I heard they did add some stuff from 9 too.
Get ready. Come on.
So while he's typing that out, we're going to
Learning skills from weapons and equipment in general. That started from 9.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'm assuming, yeah, using weapon skills was a Final Fantasy thing, which is again one of those Final Fantasy I didn't play that I still should go back and play, and I probably will at some point. But overall, the battle system was definitely perfected for this type of game. Obviously, I can come up with other things that they could do to make it like an improvement, but not necessarily because it's not a perfect system, if that makes sense. I'm trying to word this correctly. Like, the battle system works. They can add things to it, but if they add nothing to it, there's nothing wrong with it. So, but we'll see what they do when it comes down to the part 2 and part 3, because I'm not quite sure what they're gonna change. Hopefully they'll fix that damn battle camera, but I mean, outside of that, oh man, it looked like you just got bodied.
Yeah, Toad ain't no
I
joke.
wasn't even paying attention a second ago. I'm sorry.
Toad ain't no joke.
But, yeah. So, yeah. So, I really enjoyed that. One of the things that I've seen people have been so hit or miss, which I'm like, I don't see how people are so left and right on this one. It's like, we should all be happy about this, is the game actually giving Wedge, Big, and Jesse some type of personality. Like, if you play the original, they were kind of personality, but they were just kind of like, eh. But in this one, they really kind of pushed how those characters felt. Mostly Jesse. They could have done a little bit better with Big, in my opinion, but if you actually paid attention to backstory, you found out a lot about Big on it, like, without talking to him. But then Wedge was definitely a character that was telling you about himself or things that he thought, and you kind of figured him out just by his actions throughout the story. And I really dug how they actually gave them enough personality for me to fucking care.
True.
But without overly spoiling, like, the spoiler section that we'll probably have later, I will say that I did enjoy everything that they did that was true to the original. I did enjoy all the improvements that they did to the original content, and I even enjoyed, at this point, after, so now that I've had most of it marinate, I even enjoyed 80% of the changes that they made going into the later chapters. Like, I'm okay with this, but we'll get into more of that later. But bringing it back to like a personal opinion, a personal review, this is the very first game in a long time, at least on this current gen of consoles, that's a single player title that I felt okay with just going back and playing. Like, I was like, yeah, I'll go back and I'll play hard mode. Most games, especially
immediately,
at this point,
even. That's the thing.
Yeah, immediately. Being an adult that has shit to do, obviously, you know, with the current pandemic going on, obviously we have a little bit more time to do things. But with me, I still work, so I don't have as much time to play games, and I still find a way to come back and play this. And I feel like that in itself kind of speaks volumes to how and also how well they made this game feel memorable enough for you to at least want to try it again. You know? Like, I'm really happy with the experience that I got out of it. And I mean, that's pretty much where I'm gonna kind of like cut it, and I'll go ahead and let you talk for a while.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and finish this battle real quick then.
Oh, you still not finished with this battle? I guess I'll give a little bit more tap. Let me know exactly when you finish it, and I'll wrap it up really quick.
Alright.
But yeah, on a personal scale, I like so many of the character redesigns or personality shifts of certain characters. I thought it was a really, really good idea. Some characters that they added to the game, I even enjoyed. I thought that they were going to do more with some of those characters that they added to the game, but they didn't. And I was like, well, we still got 2 parts, so hopefully they
I'm done,
will.
by the way.
And I also liked, okay, last thing, also liked a couple of other quick things they added to the game that they never added in the first one, but it's funny and it makes sense why they did it. And I'm like, I actually enjoy how they did that. All right, your go.
All right. So before I start, so critically, 1 out of 10, what would you give it? Critically.
Oh, me? Too easy going on it for nostalgia's sake, but also try not to like,
Right.
Let me just try to give it as low a possible thing. I would give this game a 9.
9? Okay. That's still really good.
Simply because, like I said, I can't remember the last single-player game that I've ever felt the want to go back and play it, especially immediately. And it wasn't just due to nostalgia. Like, it literally due to I like the battle system, I like the materia system. It's actually fun to do. And then doing the collectathon portion, which in my opinion that's hard mode, the collectathon portion of the game. Anything that you didn't do, you're going and you're doing it now. That's not even so bad. I think the only part of the collectathon portion of it that I'm actually probably not going to enjoy is having to go back a 3rd time to get the 3rd dresses for the characters later. That's probably going to be the only thing that's going to actively upset me. But once I do it, it's going to be done. But yeah. So I would definitely say a 9 if I was to give it like extra like point values outside of just saying like a 9 or a 8.5. I would definitely say somewhere around an 8.8.
Okay. And real quickly, on a personal level, what would you give it?
Oh, that would still be like a really, actually it would be like a 9.5 on a personal level. 'Cause, like I said, it's not perfect. It's really, really hard for me to say a game is absolutely perfect, but this one hit close, and it's only because it actually hit every expectation I was expecting for it, and then some. So.
Okay. Alright, well, you're doing one better than me, because I think I gotta go back a 4th time to get one of Cloud's dresses.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I couldn't do it. The second time I went through, I got the same dress, and I was like, how?
Look, man, you should have just went for the worst one.
Man, I tried. That's the thing. I tried.
How did you try if you didn't get it?
Look, man, I was also trying to get the 2 separate quests that I ended up getting the same quest again. I was like, oh, but this was before I looked at a guide. I tried to see if I could do it on my own, if anything would be different. So I didn't look at a guide the second time. So, but man, so I mean, a lot of your critiques of the game were more or so the same as with me. Critically, loved it. Loved the game, man. It's just this game was fantastic, man, and it's the best that we've seen Square-Enix in a very long time. And we're talking about like Square-Enix, like in-house Square-Enix, not like another company doing a game up under Square-Enix.
Yeah.
So that's saying something. And I would have to agree with the camera. Right out the bat, the moment you start controlling a second character, and while switching around, you immediately notice, especially if you up against a wall, that shit is a little funky. So, but at the same time, even though that is the case, like obviously I have to point that flaw out because that is an issue. But I still think they did an excellent job with the battle system, because even though I had a problem with that, it didn't ruin my experience with the game. You know,
Right.
like it's not like no Dirge of Cerberus type shit.
Yeah,
no.
the camera was mad annoying at times.
Bro, taboo game.
Yeah, man, I remember going through Dirge of Cerberus, man, and that was not a fun time. I cursed my way through that game. I don't even think I beat it. I think I got to that point where you controlled Kate Sif for the first time, and I think that's about as far as I got. Maybe a little bit after that, but that's about it. I had to put it down. I couldn't do it. So
Listen, that game may be canon still.
it may be canon still.
That game. No, you know what? You're right. Once we get to the end, we're gonna talk about that. How that could still be a canon thing.
Yeah. So
Doesn't make it fun, but still.
Right. As far as the camera, if I was to critique one more thing about the battle system, it would have to be fighting aerial enemies when you don't have Barret.
Yeah. It's not as intuitive.
It's not. It doesn't feel good. Like, it feels the best that it can be right now, but it still feels a little clunky. You know, you got Cloud or you got Tifa. Actually, a little less with Tifa, but trying to do it with Cloud is a little wonky. But once again, though, it doesn't break my engagement of the game. It's just something I notice. So, and then also another thing was the textures. You know, like you said, the things that they want you to look at looks fucking amazing. It looks great, especially on let me make this clear. I played this game on a base PS4. And
I want everybody to pay attention to this too. He played the game on a base PS4, and I played the game on PS4 Pro. Keep that in mind. It'll come in handy later for another portion that I didn't want to spoil until later.
And it still, throughout my playthrough, it still looked really good. You know, so hats off to them. But I mean, then again, it's Square Enix. When you think about games that look nice, Square Enix is usually in like the top 5. So I didn't think that was
Even
an
if
aspect.
The game plays like shit. It looks nice.
Right. I didn't think that. I didn't think that at any point was the game going to look horrible. But I mean, that's still always a possibility. So I mean, let's chart back to Final Fantasy 15. They did not figure out hair to its fullest yet. The hair physics was a little rugged, but you can tell that they fine-tuned it in this one. Like, look at that shit, man.
Yeah, they did a good job with it, but I will say in certain areas, well, you know what? I'm not gonna say that. Here's a better way of saying it. In areas where the game is trying to simulate the idea that you're up high, if you hadn't noticed, Tifa's ponytail is just floating like a damn cape. Like, her hair density is not strong. Like, if you want to test this out, go back to chapter 6. Like, if you pass chapter 6, go back to chapter 6. Run around the catwalks in that area for a while, and then stop. And then you'll just notice that her hair kind of just like lives on its own. It doesn't wig out or anything, but it's like, why is the wind like keeping your hair afloat? So they still haven't fully got down hair physics, but they have definitely improved it by leaps and bounds.
Yeah. Definitely, yeah. The other thing I took notice, I thought this was actually pretty funny to me. It was, I don't know if you remember, it stuck with me a lot, but if you remember the little African American girl in chapter 8 when you was running around with Aerith and you was doing those side quests, did you pay attention to how her edges was laid?
Yeah. See, now, okay. You know what? You're right. And this was something that I wasn't really thinking about because I hadn't seen actual people outside of the main characters in the game for a minute. they really did not care about
Laughing
the
little
character models for the
African-American
generic
girl.
people. Like, it just also, oh man, when we get to spoiler, I'm gonna have to write this down so I remember it. But it,
I mean, for what it was,
you said little African American girl. Wasn't she a whole teacher, dude?
No, the little girl. Remember when you had to save the little boy and the little girl?
Oh yeah, the two and the okay. yeah, I know.
You know what?
But
Square
no,
Enix,
not even
good
just
job.
not even just her.
You know, just good job. Good job in the little bit of sense as you did all right.
Right. Like, well, you tried.
You tried. And I appreciate
I'm not gonna
it.
act like, oh man, this is great, but it wasn't bad. It wasn't. It was more so because you put so much focus on your characters that it became apparent.
Yeah, like
know?
back to the whole texture thing. I think I was talking to you about it one day, where it was like where I really started to notice it was when obviously you get to chapter 3, right? You get to chapter 3. Tifa takes you to where you sleeping, and you see that PS1 ass door, bro.
Oh my gosh, looked like it came straight out of Legacy of Kain, dude. I was dying when I saw it.
Bro, I thought that came from the original game. I thought that was the Easter egg.
Oh man, so everything in Easter eggs.
But I was just like, you know what, whatever. You know, all that stuff I feel like will get polished as time goes on, which I'm kind of still waiting on. But I think eventually it will. And then I think if you really think about it, I mean, a year from now the game will be on PC anyway. So just imagine what the game will look like on PC. That would be non-existent. So that's something to look forward to, and it gives a lot of people another reason to go through the game again, just to see how they flushed all that out. But it was one moment I was talking to one of the kids. You had to find the missing children, and the kid had on this very detailed shirt that just hadn't loaded in yet. And I was just like, well, I can't ignore that. But all in all, that's just to be honest, that's really if you're just nitpicking. I mean, because like that's not the main focus. I mean, and then on top of that, as an NPC, and everybody, well, you know, NPCs should look as good as the characters also, but yeah, but not really. You know, really, like I don't care about this little kid. That I'm not going to see until chapter 14 again. Like
I don't even know your name. Who are you?
I'm running around mostly as Cloud, Tifa, Aerith, and Barret, and they all look phenomenal at pretty much all times. And then all the other main characters look great. They look good, and to me, that's what matters the most, because it's like, I mean, they polished that up really well at all times, and it looks really good. And it's like, wow. Like, it's still a stretch from the fucking polygon Popeye armed characters we saw back in the day. So, I mean, hey. And then, as far as me, critically, those are really... I'm really trying to think if I can figure out anything else before I move on. Like, I'm hunting for a flaw right now, but I think, as of right now, that's... the only issues technically that I really had. I didn't really so much have an issue with the slowdowns where it came to you walking. At least not through first playthrough, like you said. Second playthrough, when you're trying to rush past everything, obviously you notice it, but at the same time it's like, well, I mean, what are you gonna do? The game gotta finish loading in. Shit. So but yeah, so that, as far as that, I'm cool with. About the game being like a 1-for-1 or not being a 1-for-1, as people argue, I like the direction that they went in my own opinion. To be low-key honest, like, besides for like a few things that they changed throughout the game, it kind of really is a 1-for-1 up until the end, really. I mean, yeah, there are certain things that they switch out or define more or explain more, or they add a scene here or they discuss more here, but I mean, as far as the story beats go, it's like I'm playing the original game. To me, it just seems like they just flushed out things a lot better, and you know, you got a lot of explanation for things that you didn't really understand back in the day. Like, that's what I appreciate. And the ways that they did add extra scenes, it gave characters more growth. It gave you an opportunity to bond with these characters. You learn more about them. It gives them more personality, and I think that's all a win. So yeah. So on a personal level, on a critical level,
the ghosts were a little extra.
The ghost was a little extra, and we gonna get into that. Promise you, we are going to get into those motherfucking. We gonna get into the arbiters of fate in a little bit. But on a critical level, and you have to look at this game without being full blown punched in the face by nostalgia. And on a critical level, after letting the game marinate in my brain for like a week, I would give it like a 9.5. It wouldn't be just a straight up 9, because I just feel like the things that I noticed just wasn't enough to beat it down to a 9 or beat it down a whole number. Like, I feel like 9.5 is perfect. I mean, to be honest with you, 9 is perfect. I mean, either way, the game is winning. It's not a perfect success. It has its flaws, but it was good for what it is. And I mean, it hit what we wanted. So, hey, on a personal level, full nostalgia, I took 10 out of 10. Like, that is just how I feel. The game hit everything I wanted, as far as characters, as far as voice acting, as far as fucking, especially coming from Kingdom Hearts 3, the voice acting was amazing.
Yeah.
Like, oh, and that was something I was scared of. And I don't know, man, if you follow a game and you see that voice actors are hyped for the game that they're voice acting in to come out, usually they think they did a great job, but then you get it and you're like, This one, I was kind of scared, but then when it came out and we heard it, I'm like, wow, they really put they all into it. Wow, some of these people that voice acted the game actually played it. Like, I actually saw a few streams where the voice actor for Barrett and the voice actor for Aerith actually sat down and they did a Let's Play of Final Fantasy VII. I don't know if they finished it, but I did watch a few episodes of them actually playing it, because I think the girl that voice acted Aerith never played the game. And Barrett, the guy who played Barrett, did. And they sat together and they played through the game again. So
Eric been playing on Twitch.
She been playing on. Is she still playing? But I thought that was really cool. Like, to take pride in the role that you were, given, and then to put so much effort into it to the point where it sounds as good as you hear it coming out the game. Like she really voices that character. Like, you don't hear the girl that's voice acting Aerith. Okay. You don't hear the girl voice acting Aerith. You hear Aerith. Like, you hear Aerith like how you heard Aerith when you played the game. Maybe a little detailed, but that's how you imagine Aerith when you played the game. At least that's how I imagine most people imagine Aerith. And the guy who played Barrett, I swear to you, I thought that is exactly how Barrett sound. When I originally played the game and was reading the dialogue box, I was like, wow, that's spot on. So, I also like the dude that did Cloud. Like, he gave him this type of attitude where, one, it's not emo Cloud from Advent Children and other in the Kingdom Hearts installments. It's dickish asshole Cloud from the original 7. Maybe a little more asshole-ish. Yeah. But it fits. It makes sense.
Let me point out something with that too once you get done.
Like, it fits the character. Like, point blank, the character that at least you
Cloud
grew up
was
with.
such a asshole.
Cloud was such an asshole. I think I think the added profanity that the voice actor brought to this Cloud actually just pumped it up a little bit for me, because it sounds really good. When Cloud says shit, he means shit. When Cloud is irritated, he's irritated. Voice actors, you've all done a really good job. So, great. Graphics wise, I already said it looks great. Let me just bring about. Well, what were you about to talk about, Crash? Before I move on to the next topic.
Oh, I was just gonna expand more about like the voice acting as far as that worked out, like how you felt about the characters and how they interacted. The voice actor for Cloud was extremely good, and the reason why I say that is because he gave off that asshole-ish vibe that Cloud was originally giving off in the beginning of the game, and he was able to shift it throughout the game to the point of where he was near the end. But what made it great is you saw that transition could happen, and they did it by adding character to another character. His whole interactions with Jessie is exactly how you understood what Cloud was going to slowly start looking like once his walls broke down a little bit. She was easily able to get around them and push past them to the point where he was still uncomfortable, obviously. But you started noticing him getting a little bit more into it, especially on the mission where they had to go and get the extra stuff for the second mission. I'm not really going to explain too much about that just yet, but when they got to that point, and he was talking to her, he was kind of already, like, you could tell he was nervous around her. And then, like, when he started talking to Big and Wedge about her in particular,
Right.
you started realizing he was caring, because before he was like, I don't care about y'all. And then once he figured out the thing and he did the thing, learned what was going on in her life, he was like, no, I actually want to hear this. Because at that point, he was getting more invested in each one of the people that he was around.
Right.
So, I don't know. I felt like the way he portrayed the emotion in conjunction with his other voice actors really, really hit the mark.
Yeah, that and little moments like how, just like you said, how Jesse pretty much broke him down, and the rest of the Avalanche team took some layers off of him. Aerith, the fact that you can see how well Aerith breaks down that wall in game, like it's really well, because it's like the whole high five moment is like a perfect example of breaking down the walls for Cloud. Cloud's finally getting to a point where he actually is trying to socialize with people, whereas before, he just cut everybody off. I don't want to deal with you and your emotions, whatever. Now he's at a point where he's like, I care for these people. I'm trying to make an effort to show them that I do. So, really well executed.
Can I ask you something?
And then the other part that I wanted to move into was just the music in this game is so good. New and old.
Yes. Like, obviously, there was a lot of nostalgia tracks, but then there were some that weren't nostalgia tracks. That were brand new, and they fit right in. And I'm like, dude, I'm going to tell you right now, I've been working, and while I'm working, since I don't, I'm at home, and I don't have people talking to me most of the time or coming up and asking me things, I listen to music a lot. Dude, I've been listening to a lot of the tracks. From this game. Like, oh man, the theme that plays when you fight Roche, dude, I didn't realize how well that was composed. And the theme that you get when you switch over in Don Corneo's area to playing with the girls. Originally, when I heard it, I didn't realize that was a mix of both of their themes. I thought it was just Aerith themes for a minute. And then when I re-listened to it, like, outside of playing the game and listen to it like with actual good headphones on, I was like, dude, this is one of those other things where I'm like, Square Enix will always be masters at music. Like, always. Like, always. It doesn't matter how good or how bad the game is, the music is always A1.
Always. Always. Even in they shitty games. Always.
Yep. Remember how good the music was in The Bouncer? I'm just saying, you remember? That music was actually pretty damn good.
Why you backtrack like that? That music was the shit, though. Oh my god, that music was the shit. Bouncer reboot? Anybody? Yes? Yeah? No?
No.
No? Okay.
You don't need this.
Hey man, they could do it right this time.
Yeah.
They could, but I'm not sure if I want them to.
Through here.
This time they can fix it,
Bouncer
man.
was amazing. 1-0 out 1-0.
10 out of 10.
In my heart.
I was about to say, yeah, in your heart, because I was about to say that game was not a 10 out of 10. It was a 10 out of 10 when we played it for the first time as kids, but looking back on that game, I think I still got the original copy sitting around here somewhere. But
Wait! We gotta catch him!
hey man,
He took the key
what they
to
could
the
do
door.
is they
my
could
heart.
We're screwed.
what they could do is if they ever decided to bring it back, you know, hint hint, they could
No hints.
make it co-op, man. That would make the game so much better. Fix the story, make it co-op. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, moving
Fix
on.
the story, make it co-op, fix some of them character designs, make the voice acting actually good this time, please. I mean, I could tear that game apart.
Yeah. But yeah, the music as perfect example of what we're listening to right now. This like I never get tired of listening to the music in this game. Like I can hear it a million times. I can go back to the same areas and hear the same track playing, and I'm just like, I get into it. Like this right here, it's a chase scene. The music makes you feel like you're chasing something down, which you are, and that's just great. Like that, I love it. Like, don't let me get into the boss themes. Like when you fought Airbuster for the first time, boy,
Oh, yeah.
I was
But
fucking
that was
ready.
once again, that was a original song,
Yeah, that was the original
and
song.
it was
Yeah,
done so well.
that was an original song. I think an original song would be when you go to the Coliseum and you fight in the Coliseum. I think that's new, and I really enjoyed that one
Yeah.
too. So, man. Anyway, so yeah. If I was to rate the game, because I kind of want to move on and discuss the game a little bit more. We all know that I love the fucking game. We get it. So,
We said we get it. Shut up.
obviously 10 out of 10. I would on a personal level, this game meant so much to me. Like I played this game when I was like fucking 6, you know what I'm saying, and the moment I got it, from the moment that I played it, I've always been into it. The damn game taught me how to read, to be honest with you. And then
Okay, do we need to dig into that?
You think I'm playing, but I'm serious, man. I think what grade are you in when you're 6? What is that? Like 5th, 6th? What grade? What grade is that?
Xenogears is an
Second grade?
FF7
That's like
did it
first
for me,
grade.
he not joking.
Second, first grade. Xenogears and FF7 did that for me, not joking. Well, I'm not gonna say it taught me how to read. That's being a little loose. What I mean is it brightened my my vocabulary, you know. So like, I learned a lot of words through Final Fantasy VII. I learned how to we get it. Yeah, but like it strengthened my reading, you know what I'm saying?
Taught you
And
how to read and comprehend better as well.
thank you, that right there. Thank you, Jason. But yeah, it did that for me. I'm being 100% honest with that. And you know, I've met so many, you know, good friends through Final Fantasy VII. Speaking of Crash, I think when we first met, I
These
think
were
it was
above your
off of the
grade
subject
level
of
in
Final
terms
Fantasy
of reading,
VII.
so I get it.
I'm pretty sure it was.
Yeah, so and what 10 plus years we got here as friends. So you
Yeah.
know,
10? Dude, it has to be more than 10 now.
I said it's
like
10 plus.
15.
10 plus. That's why I said 10 plus years, man.
It didn't hit past 15, so you might as well say 15 plus. I'm just saying.
So like, man, that's insane, man. Off of a fucking video game, man. That's the crazy thing about it. So, you know, for this game to be remade and to bring back so much of that nostalgia and make me realize why I love this game in the first place and what it's done for me over the years and how much I wanted this game, this remake, man, it does a lot. It does a lot for the heart box, I'm just saying. So yeah, 10 out of 10. So as far as that, I would like to say, I would like to touch on, do you want to hop right into the Arbiters of Fate, or is there anywhere specific you want to go other than there before we even get into that? Or should I just be like, how did you feel about the fucking ending? Should I just be like that? Is that how I should be?
Do we want to jump to that point now?
I mean, we might as well, because it's lengthy. It's pretty lengthy, because I have some fucking I have something to say about the ending of this game and different theories that I can fucking branch off into. Like, it's a maze of theories that I can branch off. Let's say when you first got to it versus
which part.
You
gotta be very specific, because there were moments where I was like, Then there were
let's go from
epiphany moments.
Let's go from the moment you wake up in that room with everybody in Aerith. So you wake up in the room.
Oh,
Aerith,
okay. So you're pulling it all the way back.
From there, so let's talk about how you felt from there to let's talk about there to the end of the bridge, right? Not the end of the game, but the end of the bridge.
Are we crossing that barrier into full spoilers now?
We're crossing the barrier into full spoilers. We're literally talking about right chapter 17 on.
Laughing, trying not to spoil is hard.
Definitely into the end of the game. So we're going into it. So
yeah,
spoilers are now on the table.
Full alert.
So if you don't want spoilers, you might want to come back and watch this later. But we going like legitimate. We jumping in balls deep right now.
So from there
to the point.
Wait.
I'm gonna talk about how they got there too.
Okay, so from there, right, from where you about to start to the bridge, right? Not anything that happens after the bridge, but the moment you get to the bridge. Okay.
So basically, we're talking about the original part of the game that led to leaving Midgard. That's pretty much that section of the game. I absolutely love how they made that whole thing. So one of the things they did, they brought into Cloud's original freak out moments, right? And they accumulated it into one actually really, really odd but good way that they put it section. Because when you wake up, everybody's kind of in this room, and then you're basically on that sprint to leave the building. Oh no, original, everybody got put in prison, and they got put in prison because they ran up to, I think it was President Shinra at the time, and then they all basically got thrown in prison. Now, they changed the way that works. So, Cloud passes out, they bring him to this room, which happens to be a room that Aerith actually stayed in as a kid, because as you know, she, was kind of part of some of the Shinra experiments beforehand, but they really, really, really expanded on that in this game a lot. To let you know that she was actually living at the Shinra mansion. She was actually there for some of the stuff that happened. So, once you get that idea down and they show you where she was, it kind of really, really drives home that point there. Aerith really did not grow up in the situation she started in. So she starts telling Cloud a couple things, and if you played through it, you kind of know how she explained it, because it was important, but not important enough for me to go over it. But once you leave, and they go through the whole Hojo section, because that was before the Hojo section, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, they go through the second half of the Hojo section, as better say. So they have you climbing up the cylinder thing because you go through, and this is where like my first original what the fuck moment was. Mm-hmm. But once I realized what was happening, it was only because it was so abrupt that it threw me off. You run directly into Sephiroth.
Yep.
And I was like, what the fuck? What? That didn't happen. That shouldn't happen. And I was absolutely confused. But when I realized how they masterfully played this by watching a later cutscene, all of it made sense. It was more of a shock value, and I think they did it on purpose to shock the player who had already played this, who would immediately get in arms, mad about these changes, until they showed you why that change happened. And then if you didn't agree with it, in my honest opinion, you really don't understand how this story was honestly supposed to be told the first fucking time. So,
Still up for it?
they get to that point where Cloud ends up running into Sephiroth. He freaks out, he tries to kill Sephiroth. Sephiroth basically cuts this bridge that he's standing on, and everybody falls to the bottom. They get separated, and they basically go through this whole thing with Hojo trying to like link them back up. But as you can see, the whole time they got nowhere that Hojo did not allow them to get to.
Right.
So you understood that at that moment in time, their whole lives was honestly in Hojo's hands.
Mm-hmm.
There was nothing they could have done if Hojo just decided, nah, you're not going nowhere. So you understand that Hojo's whole MO is legitimate science. He don't care how he get this information, just that he getting it. And he got every amount of information he needed on their combat abilities, on Cloud, on Aerith, on Red. Fuck about the other two, probably. But his whole idea was to gather data about them. Not for Shinra's sake. He don't give a fuck about that. But he needed the information, so he needed them to go through these trials of like opening these doors and going up these elevators and basically helping each other get through. So once he finally allowed them to get out, and they get up to pretty much, just skipping ahead a little bit, they get up to President Shinra's floor again. Basically. So when they get up there, this is the part that they kind of didn't have before, or like they didn't have it before because this is where you would originally get thrown in prison. So you get up there, you realize President Shinra has already been attacked, but he's not dead. President Shinra somehow got tossed out a window and was hanging on for dear life. Which, if I'm not mistaken, did they actually explain what the fuck happened to him?
No, they didn't.
Like how he got in that situation?
I don't think they did.
That's one of those weird... Yeah, that was one of those weird story points because it's like, if it would have been the original thing, he wouldn't have been hanging out a window. Here we go. So it's like, somehow, some way, somebody tried to assassinate him by tossing him through a window, but they never really revealed how that happened. You just kind of mentally... He got yeeted, but what did he get yeeted by?
I think it's left to you to assume. I think it was for you to assume it was Sephiroth. Because
did they show Ghost yeet him? I'm looking at one of the chat things.
I don't think they showed Ghost yeeting him. I don't think so. Like
no,
you said,
they didn't because there was no reason to. You gotta remember, ghosts weren't just doing things just to do them.
Yeah, they just made shit happen.
Sure things kept going.
Yeah.
So at that point, there was no reason to throw him out of the window when they knew the next portion was coming. That's why I was like,
just somebody was supposed to die, and he wasn't dying.
Yeah, see, he was supposed to die, but he hadn't gotten to that point yet. That wasn't how he died. Yeah, they were probably going to have to kill him at some point, maybe. But then, if you really want to go into it, once again, getting into heavy spoilers, they would have been killed Wedge. Like a long time ago. But they didn't. Because I realized that the Harbingers only seem to care about key characters. And Wedge was never one of them. That's how you kind of realize that he isn't
You
as
say that
important
though,
as other
but they
characters.
made sure Jesse died though.
They did, but they also didn't really make sure that Big died.
True.
But they made sure Jesse died. They fucked. I want to say, if I was Jesse, I'd be mad as hell. Them ghosts was whooping her ass this whole game. Like they started slapping her up early. Then they jumped her,
The
stomped her
bigger the
leg out so
impact,
she
the
couldn't
more
go
they
on the
were gonna
mission.
kill you.
And
Wedge died would make a
at
difference.
the end,
Till
they
the end.
straight up threw basically their shit back into her. Just to make sure that bitch was dying. They were like, no, you are not living through this moment. That's not gonna happen.
Wow, really? Okay.
But I only think, and this is gonna be, this is off the rails here. I only think they care because I feel like out of all of the other members of Barrett's Avalanche, Jesse was the only one that was gonna cause a major problem with potential timeline shit because she was way too in the cloud. I feel like that would have potentially altered some of his natural choices. So they had to get rid of her.
Oh, you mean if he would have came over tomorrow night?
Well, no, not not necessarily that. I'm just saying, if she was alive with the way that she is and the things that she does, he would have invested a lot more time into dealing with her. You can kind of tell just by like the whole coming over for the pizza thing. He would have invested time.
Laughing time paradox, baby.
And they couldn't have that. Right. They would have had a time paradox baby that they didn't need to have. So, I feel like
Laughing Cloud
they
would
stomped
have
her
had a
out for a
baby.
reason. But
Oh shit.
back on track, back on the rails on. When it came down to the President Shinra part, I thought it was great because they let Barrett's whole arc of getting up there shine more than it did before.
Yeah.
So he gets up there, he had the opportunity to kill the president right then and there. He didn't, which allowed you to more humanize Barrett. Now, because we skipped over a lot of other stuff that I wanted to talk about on the way up, I'm gonna just kind of like talk about it. If you want to go back and talk about it a little bit more, we can. Especially with the plate fall and all of that stuff. Played out in a very, very odd way that definitely kind of lessened the value of the dangerousness of Avalanche and also lessened the impact Shinra should have had on the world. Namely because they kind of left a lot of the problems that were caused originally by Avalanche or thought to be caused by Avalanche. They basically kind of said, well, Shinra had a hand in all of that too. So they made Avalanche a little bit too perfect, if that's the word. They made them too goody-goody because they made it seem like, oh, they didn't mean to cause that much destruction, but it happened, right? They meant to cause problems, but not to cause that much problems to people. But it happened anyway. Barrett was basically just going to be okay with it, but that moral choice was a lot less than in the original game. Granted, the original game didn't really dive into it as hard, but the original game was very cut and dry with how dark shit was. When it came to everything, when it came to blood, when it came to people getting killed, all of that shit. The original game didn't give a fuck. You was dying when we want you to fucking die. This game seems to have a problem with killing people. And we'll get into that a little bit more later. But
Okay, alright.
we'll get into it more later because I know that's a whole different discussional point. But my point is, I feel like moving forward, they need to make sure that when these triggers are there, even though they're trying to do something specific with the story, they need to pull them triggers and let them be pulled and stop. We'll get into that in just a second because we're moving towards the first problem I have. So, they let Barrett not kill him. He goes on and he basically gives Barrett this moral choice thing while holding a gun out to him because he let him go and pick up a fucking gun, which made no sense to me. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, you just let him do this? First of all. Second of all, Barrett, you got a Gatling gun on your arm, and you letting this man with a gold
Outdraw you?
pistol outdraw you? Nah, bruh. I'd have been like, sit your ass down. It don't go down like that. But somehow that was allowed, and then they had Barrett go through moral twists at that moment, right before it seemed like he was gonna die. But then that's when they pretty much tried to bring the story back on the original rails, because that's when President Shinra got killed. Because they had to ensure, oddly enough, they had to ensure that the timeline worked out. So President Shinra had to die, and Barrett couldn't get killed by Shinra. But then this is where they just kind of took a big, wet, nasty dump on that concept. And I know why. We'll go back into that too. But I just didn't like the way they did it. Because it kind of, instead of like causing the factor that I assumed they were trying to get, it really just made me squint really hard at that option, because I knew it wasn't going to happen. So after President Shinra gets killed, Sephiroth shows up. Sephiroth kills Barrett, or assumingly kills Barrett, and then drops Genova off for you to fight. Now, that whole thing kind of fucked me up, because I'm like, first of all, there was no blood in any of that scene. Why is it that every time somebody gets stabbed, they get stabbed with black or gray smoke? Like, I'm gonna need them to put a little bit more gore in it. See, that's the type of thing that they had in the original, that if they put back in this one, it will originally go back up to my original idea. It could have been a team. I just feel like they pussied out on a lot of pushing that button, because I think they really tried to make sure that this game can be played by kids. Maybe. But I'm like, man, the original game was T-rated, and I played that shit, and my ass is clearly not T, and I turned out okay.
Right.
Anyway, so they had Barrett die, and they tried to make that scene somewhat emotional, but in the end, when you look at it, they really only killed Barrett off so that you only had 3 characters to use for that fight, in my opinion. And they were like, well, we're not going to do Aerith for obvious reasons. And if they would have did Tifa, oh man, that would have been a whole different problem. That would have been a whole different emotional problem for Cloud. So they had to pick Barrett because, I mean, why not? They could have had him do something else, but whatever. That's what they chose. And then they had you fight them, and then they had Red as a guest character, which is why Red, in my opinion, was left as a guest character. It's because I feel like they got to that point, and they were like, what are we going to do about this? And they all sat in that room, and they all looked at each other, and they didn't know what to do.
Okay.
I guarantee you. But, in my opinion, they could have just had it happen that way, because, let's be honest, when you're doing the battle system, the fucking background NPCs barely do shit anyway. Like, unless you stagger an enemy, they don't do anything. So you could have just threw Barrett as another AI control assist, just like Red, and just had him doing shit in the background, shooting shit, and causing minor amounts of damage. It would have worked, in my opinion. It would have been another option to do, but I feel like they also didn't want to put that many characters on screen.
Take the right.
Because they did have like a million tentacles popping up out of the ground.
Boy, don't get me started.
But, so that fight was pretty cool. I was alright with the fight. It was a little tedious for a second once you realized how you had to do things. How you had to kind of like break one in and then immediately cause damage. Otherwise, you were going to be in that fight for a while. Because her stagger gauge comes back so quick. But
So quick.
fight was good, and then afterwards you realize, okay, President Shinra's dead. Then you realize, oh, the Harbinger saved Barrett's life, and I'm just sitting over here like, so I knew this was gonna happen, obviously, but at the same time I'm looking at this and I'm like, did this really need to happen? Like, story-wise, did this really need to happen? That was kind of trash.
Story-wise,
they didn't need to do that.
Oh, I almost didn't save. Let me, story-wise, it didn't need to happen. But for the reasons that you stated, I'm 100% certain that, you know, they killed Barrett for the sake of, we don't need these many background characters. This is just going to be a fight between Genova, Tifa, Aerith, Cloud, and then we're just going to have Red 13 in the back doing his thing. So, I think it was also a point to prove with
That
the.
was real, but yeah, want his time.
But yeah, it wasn't his time. Yeah, and I think it was another reason to prove that just in case people didn't get it up into that point, it was another way for them to show you that, hey, these ghosts are here to keep the timeline or fate intact. So
Sure.
right there, because
that definitely was it.
Yeah, because for a lot of people it hit home and it was like, okay, yeah, they brought Barrett back because he not supposed to die at this point. So okay, granted, a lot of us like knew that right off the bat, but you know, some people, it was just there in case you didn't notice. This is what they're here for, a moment. So yeah.
So yeah, that was probably that moment where they were like, okay, so if people have been skipping dialogue and not paying attention to the game, trying to run past these walk scenes that we keep making you do and not paying attention, we about to take this big ass spike back, this big ass nail back, and we about to whack a box show ass with this over the top, blatant, why did you put this here moment, just so you can get it, you know, just for the people in the back. That's what I'm assuming. That's what I'm going to assume if I'm trying to assume the best.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, I felt like it was misplaced. Now, jumping forward, the next sections were like A1, not mad at it, like, dude, like, legit, that was like that. You stand up and you just jizz all over the screen moments. From there on out. Like, they stopped with the weird shit.
They stopped with the weird shit. You gotta add one more weird thing. Oh, what was you about to say?
No. Oh, you need to add something before I keep going?
I was about to say the last weird thing they showed was, but I'm glad they did, because it was to clarify something that people didn't understand while the game was marketing this whole time. How they showed Clone 2 and Clone 49, which I think his name was Marco, and I forgot the other one's name. I like how the other one had a name. I just don't remember what. No. Only 2 had a name. Whichever one was 2 had a name. But yeah, I like how they showed them at that point to be like, so the whole time you thought you were talking or dealing with Sephiroth, but it really wasn't Sephiroth.
Yeah, I was about to get into that.
Yeah, that's why I was wondering. That's why I was like, you go first.
I didn't forget that part. I didn't forget that part because that was also another part that I thought that they did absolutely amazing in explaining that portion, because I think people really didn't. And this was another thing. They either didn't explain this well enough in the original, or this was just a better idea than in the original. Is all of the moments where you ran into Sephiroth in the original, honestly, they should have been Sephiroth clones, especially with the way they showed Cloud at the Northern Cavern before. Like, it makes sense that they would have all been Sephiroth clones, which in this game, they pretty much point out that, yeah, when you see Sephiroth, it was a clone the whole time. So it's like a clone that probably got in contact with some shit. Like, with this one, they had Genova's fucking head half the damn time.
Right.
They got into initial Sephiroth mindset, and then they
which I'm actually kind of mad they didn't show in this one.
Or the head?
Yeah.
Yeah, they kind of showed it, but they didn't. Like, they showed the original of him pulling it off.
Nah.
But they didn't. That was it. And that was after the bridge thing. So, how they really drove home that was Sephiroth clones is Cloud went after the clone, ran up to the top of the tower, and when he got up to the top of the tower, he thought he was about to go face Sephiroth. And at that point, I thought I was too. I was like, this is what they did? I was getting upset until he jumped off the thing. And when he jumped off, and they showed the glitch, and they showed that it was, I think that was Marco, right?
Yeah. Marco was holding
that
49.
Was Marco. Yep. Marco was holding 49, and he had the damn head.
Yeah.
Jumped off. Yeah, because he always had. That's how Genova got into other places.
Right.
Is they were carrying around the damn head the whole time in the original game. But they showed him jump off the tower. They showed him escape. But the fact that they showed that it was the clones that are doing this shit,
right,
drove the point home entirely. And I was like, yes, this is what you do. This is the part of the game where you fix problems in making that a thing, right? Then, after that, comes one of my other favorite parts of the game. When you meet and fight Rufus Shinra. Can I say that they did Cypher very well?
Yeah.
Because he was pretty much like a cooler version of Cypher. In my opinion.
Yo,
Absolute
the fact that you
badass
said
version
that,
of
bro,
Cypher.
I swear to God, I watched a video earlier and they said, I think they called him a 1% Cypher knockoff, bro. That shit had me fucking dead, dog. I was like, you know what?
Yeah. And it's true, like, I'll even give you this one, because I know you didn't really play 8, right? You remember when you fought Cypher in Kingdom Hearts 2?
Yeah.
You remember some of his movesets, how he could close distance really quickly?
Mm-hmm.
How he'd do, like, the jump back thing when his arm was behind him, and then he'd just jump forward with the swing thing?
Mm-hmm.
Shinra had a move similar to that, when he did the little, jump at gun fire thing to get
He
close
looked
to
like
you.
Thancred.
Man. But
He looked like Thancred.
he looked like Thancred. Every white-haired character don't look like Thancred. He didn't have white hair. His hair is blonde. But builds back on. That was definitely one of the better parts of the fight. 'Cause at that point of that fight, and the game really, really drove home that you need to start paying attention to what you're doing when you fight, if you hadn't already.
Right?
Like, they were telling you, you can't just swing at every damn thing, because if you just start swinging at him, you die. Like, he's not gonna play these games with you. At all. Like, you are not jumping him. Like, you have to play patient. You have to be good
Wow.
at timing when you actually... Oh, man.
Continue.
I'm sorry, I just watched it. Anyway, you have to be good at actually countering stuff. You be really into what you're doing in the actual game system. And once you figure out, okay, you have to fight some enemies first, you have to fight some enemies so many ways where you have to pay attention to how many times you hit them before they can do other things. You pretty much had that fight in the back. The fight wasn't extremely hard, but it was definitely one of those learning opportunity fights where if you aren't paying attention, he is going to just whittle you down and beat down.
Mm-hmm.
Also, he brought in so much fucking I'm the shit.
So much swag.
Big dick energy all over the place. Just walked in, talk shit,
Wow.
explain, like, I'm just saying, when he talked to Cloud, and Cloud explained he was soldier, and he looked at me, he was like, oh, so that means I own you. And Cloud looked at him like, bitch! Like, that whole conversation, like, I'm sorry, I like the interaction between Cloud and Shinra. But, that whole interaction, how it ended, too, was great, because it wasn't like he wanted to keep Cloud alive. He just wasn't about to stick around for too much longer because of the situation that happened. So he was like, whatever. Inconsequential. To him, Cloud is not a threat yet. You know? So, that whole thing happened. They run. Tifa comes, because Cloud was about to die. Cloud was about to fall off the damn building. And
Right.
Tifa ran and she caught him, and that was like the point where I was like, see, this is actually cool, because they actually show that Cloud, even though he is supposed to be Mr.
Calm, cool, and
Ex-Soldier,
collected.
he needed help. He needed to be saved. And she made a remark about it like, you can't lose. You supposed to be the motherfucking hero. Start acting like it. And then, like,
Right.
it really drives home that point that it's like, damn, you just had to be saved. And it's not the first time it's happened in the game. He had to be saved a couple times in the game.
Yep.
But the fact that somebody finally dug in his ass about it, when he's usually digging in everybody else's ass about it, it was like, yeah, that was smooth. So, after that, the battles that you have to do with Red and Barret.
Well,
Once again,
wonder is what a wife
absolutely
does.
loved it. I loved the way that they had
A
you
wife
in the
saves
elevator,
you.
but they didn't have you in the elevator, because I was wondering how that was going to work. But I was like, well, you do have two long-range characters that could work, but they were like, nah, we're going to have you fight in the lobby. And I was like, okay, worth it. That fight was a little difficult, but I liked the fight.
Well,
And
that's-
then-
that is what a wife does. A wife saves you. I'm dead. Yeah, I was kind of
She-
worried about that
she
too,
did.
because like I was like, "Whoa, they really about to do this on the elevator?" I'm really trying to figure out how they gonna do this, but then they put you in the lobby, and I'm like, "All right, that works with me."
Especially since everybody else, like the whole building was pretty much empty almost in the start anyway.
Right.
It made sense. So after that, when they run into fucking Heidegger and they have to deal with that shit, I was like, oh man, what they gonna do? And then when you heard the motorcycle coming, I was like, oh, here we go. And then Tifa comes down with Cloud, and they got the fucking cars, and Cloud just started whooping everybody's ass with his damn motorcycle. I was like,
bike.
see, they had to show off that, yeah, Cloud's still a fucking badass. And I thought that was great. Thought they did a really good job of that. So after that, and he leaves, and they jump onto the highway, obviously you get another bike game. But the bike game was actually decent this time. The first time I thought it was a little annoying. This one was a little bit better. Also, Red is MVP. Because Red was the only person continuously checking on you and making sure you was alright. Red MVP.
Nah, well, you had the healer in the passenger seat. I mean, she could have did something. But, you know, it's cool we had Red.
You know.
Throw a protect on me or something.
Could have used his gun on anything other
could
than
have used his fucking gun. But, hey, whatever.
Could have. Didn't. It's not like he ain't sitting in the back and he can't see them coming before you do. But we're not gonna get into that part, right? So that brings me to my other thing, because you didn't get a chance to talk about that. Red, absolutely love the rendition of how they did Red. It's like he's sarcastic. He's also very naive.
Yeah.
But he's also very, very proud. And I was like,
As long as you get us top
I think this is like my favorite rendition of what people feel like Red is supposed to be.
Yeah, they
like,
hit it on the mark.
You can tell they pulled from everybody's idea of how he should be. From their own ideas, from honestly Team 4 Stars ideas.
I swear they pulled
and
from some
then,
Team
like,
4 Star.
Oh, man.
Crash saw himself
it
in
was such a
red.
good combination, and I'm like, I can't wait to see what they're gonna do, and I hope that they make this character good. Nah. You want to know who Red reminds me of? Red reminds me of Colin.
Okay, I can see that.
Red reminds me of Colin. And I know Jason is gonna agree once he really thinks about it. Red reminds me of Colin. So, back on the rails with that one. So you fight big monsters pretty much on a motorcycle. I will say that final fight that you fight on the motorcycle, I didn't enjoy because it took too fucking long with the damn wheels. You had to hit the wheels on the side.
I was just like, you know, I love what they did with this boss. I love how they incorporated it, but I don't know, man. I just don't think they should have like slowed you down. Oh man.
Yeah, but see, here's the thing that I noticed. I feel like they had to do it for your first playthrough, but they realized that if you play this again, there's no chance in hell you're gonna want to do it. So they immediately made all the fucking bike mode skippable. And I was like, see, this was for a reason. Somebody play tested this and was like, this is cool, but I'd never want to do this shit again. And they were like, you know what, got you. So beyond that, yeah, I mean, it got to the end. Stuff happened. Should I talk about the actual stuff before the end too, or is that where I should stop?
I was just like, I just wanted to see how you felt up into that point, because like, I just wanted to add it, like, you know, I was really like, I don't know, man. It was just like from the moment you fought Genova to like right after that bike scene, it was just full fucking throttle, like, and it felt good because it was just like, okay, the game is just like, yeah, we about to get you there, get ready. And all the way up until that point, like, I thought the motor boss was so fun at first, you know. Like I said, like, it just kind of got annoying that every time I had to block, I slowed down, and I'm just like, I kind of wish they did it from like the original, where like you could control, you know, how far you want to go up, how far you want to go back. And don't get me wrong, that mechanic was clumsy and clunky in the original game, but I don't know. I just still kind of felt like it should have been done that way, in my personal opinion, because it was just trying to get up to the front tires was such a pain sometimes. Like, it can be done. It's not hard. It's just kind of time consuming, but it's a little gripe, basically. So
yeah, but it's an understandable gripe because that shit was annoying.
So, but you know, from all the way there, the fight with Rufus was so fun. Like, I love the fact that the game puts you in so many situations where they were like, hey, you know, just in case you don't know how to play this game, you need to learn right now or you're going to die. And I love that, man. I love the challenge. I love that the game, like, even in normal, ramped up a little bit. Because my issue with the game before I played it was, after playing the demo so many times, once you get used to the combat, you're like, yo, this is fairly easy. But every time you get used to it, they throw something else in there, and they're like, hey, you need to learn how to do this, and you need to learn how to do it now. Here's your opportunity, because from this point on. And I love that. I love how the game makes you work the system, you know? The game's like, I've given you all this material. Use it. I've given you all these abilities from these weapons. If you haven't found them, go find them, because some of these abilities help. And then you learn how to stagger quickly, you know? Like, because I went through like a good, 60% of the game before I realized, oh, focused attacks increase stagger bar. Duh. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe while it's pressured, I should use a stagger attack. I mean, a focused attack. Oh, it's staggered just that quick. Oh, wow. Okay, I should do this from now on. And the game, even though it doesn't tell you outright that's how it needs to be played, it makes you figure it out. And I like that. It doesn't hold your hand. It's like, we've given you everything. If you are stuck, take a step back, look at what you got, then proceed and try it again. And I love that so much. So even on hard mode, man, I'm still going through it. Like, it's still situations where materia I didn't think I was going to use, I'm using, you know. So I love that so much. Anyway, so now we're at the point where you done took down the motor boss, and you see a certain somebody at the end of the bridge. Go.
So you end up getting to the end of the bridge, and once again you're seeing Sephiroth, and you're like, okay, they just keep teasing him in front of me. Why do they keep doing this? And what you come to the conclusion of is, like, they're doing this because it's leading to I'll put it this way. When they do this, it's leading to you to understand that they're about to start showing you where Nomura was put on this project and why. So, bunch of stuff happens. They actually have Sephiroth say a couple things. Can't remember exactly what he said word for word, but long story short, he kind of giving off that thing that pretty much he's the almighty him. He's, you know, blah, 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 blah. And Aerith basically has her first actual interaction that she ever had with him, because if I'm not mistaken, from the original game, Aerith never really had an interaction with someone.
Name except for the last one.
Name set for
the first and only one.
Like, at that point, that's the only interaction that they had. So at this point, it had her actually interact with him, understand that she has a better knowledge of, like, who she is and why he isn't, like, correct for the world. Basically, why he's an anomaly, why he shouldn't exist, and her showing the understanding that as far as Fate goes, he's completely, basically ripping Fate apart. Like, he has no bounds like everybody else does to stick with Fate. He can do what the fuck he wants, and he can actually change your fate based off of that. So basically, she just explains that, yeah, he got God mode on. Like, you kind of stuck playing the rules. So from there, he does some shit, and you kind of go into this idea that Fate is
Am I
going to
the only
have to be
person who
changed.
thought the final
And if
bosses
Fate
were
is going
calls
to
to
be
Advent
changed, you pretty
children?
much have to make this decision. And am I the only person that thought the final bosses?
Oh, it definitely was caused to
we're
Advent
gonna-
children. But we'll get to that.
We'll get to that. So, more or less, just to skip it through so we can get to that. Eric pretty much tells you, in order for things to go a certain way, fate needs to be changed. And she's willing to go and change fate, but she needs you to help her do it because she can't do it by herself. Which everybody kind of comes to that conclusion that, yeah, we're about to go help her, quote-unquote, change fate and walk through this random-ass portal to God knows where in order to figure out this shit because of whatever reason. Like, at that point, like, I understand why Cloud might do it, and I kind of understand why Tifa might do it, which they kind of explained that Tifa and Aerith kind of became, like, besties at a point. And then Cloud, you know, he has this soft spot for her. Red, I have no idea why Red. Well, I mean, I guess he had nowhere else to go. But Red had an odd understanding of the world because he talked or touched her and shit like that. Like, I don't know. It's something to do with Red's actual origin. So he kind of understood what she had to do. So he was on board, and then Barrett was just kind of like, well, shit, I mean, I guess I ain't gonna be the only one out. So they peer pressured Barrett into this. So
I'm dead.
But yeah, long story short, they got through. They went through this portal, and then they start fighting. Pretty much, they start fighting fate. At this point, that whole section, as you watched it, you were literally watching a mix between Advent Children and every Kingdom Hearts game comes back to life as Final Fantasy. Like, you start fighting big ass shadow creatures, you start fighting other like spirit looking things. Like, this is where you realize this is where Nomura had all of his hands in the pudding. And I will admit, going through it the first time was very, very off-putting. I was unsure of how to feel about it. But once they start actually getting into it, it was more like watching a movie. I really felt like I was watching a movie just at that point, because Cloud started doing things he wasn't able to do before. It was a slow ramp at first, so you start kind of realizing, oh yeah, these characters are powerful. So they start fighting through fate. I'm not gonna go into all of the different boss battles, but I will say that when you fight one fused part of the boss battle, that shit whooped my ass the first time, and I legit almost died. But yeah, you get through that, and then once you get through it, you actually, this is the actual time when you fight Sephiroth at the end of the game. And this motherfucker was aggressive as shit.
Boy.
Fun fight, enjoyed the fight. As aggressive as he was, I'm more afraid of fighting him on hard mode, only because even though he was aggressive, I realized he wasn't doing a hell of amount of dash most of the time, but you were on your ass for more of that time than you thought. So it was understandable that they didn't make him do as much damage like other enemies do, but he definitely stun locks you on his own more than some of those enemies. So I enjoyed that fight. That fight was legitimately like a movie fight. It was a slow ramp. You start off fighting them as Cloud, then Aerith jumps in and she starts fighting with you. Then I think Tifa jumps in.
Cool.
Yeah, so it's like they have one of your teammates jump in at different areas of the fight, and then once you finish it, it once again turns into like the ending of Advent Children, where they all do something really, really cool, and then Cloud does something like godlike, which makes no sense how he got to this point. This is where that slow ramp in Cloud's power just kind of became like in-game shit. Like, how the fuck do you top this shit? Like, that whole fight. And the way that they implemented it, I'm like, I have no idea how they're gonna top that in the sequels, because it was done so fucking well.
Yeah.
But you get to the end, and then they start doing some other stuff where they start mixing in shit that's supposed to happen in the original, and then the shit that's happening now. And at that point in time, you get to this point where Cloud has a talk with Sephiroth. When he has this talk, you kind of get this idea that this whole time, obviously, you kind of knew it, but you thought you were fighting a real Sephiroth back there, too. You kind of realized that the real Sephiroth is probably this one that you're talking to in that area. And it made it very reminiscent of the dark area that you fought him in at the end of the original game. Like, they really kind of reconditioned that whole section. And at this point, you've beaten the game, you're just watching it. At this point, you've already beaten it. So,
Don't overdo it.
after they had that little interaction, Sephiroth says his little piece. And he's kind of like explaining to Cloud that he's really trying to find a way to change some of the shit that's happening. And he needs Cloud's help to do it. Blah, 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 blah. Cloud actually... you know, it's like, no, fuck you, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, all right, that's fine, but, you know, you're going to have to make a decision. And he hits him with the line, pretty much, you got 7 seconds. And at that point, like, as a player, you're watching, you're like, what the fuck, 7 seconds to do what? You wonder if you're going to have to do something. Obviously, they don't make you do anything, but it's like, it kind of leads you to the understanding that something has happened in 7 seconds. But I think the idea is Cloud stood there for 7 seconds, and whatever he did is going to be the decisions that are being made moving forward. So, without completely going into the actual ending, if you want to see the ending, I just beat the game and go and look at somebody's ending on YouTube. They just did a lot of random things where they kind of showed Zack. And they showed what happened to Zack again. And you kind of realize that the game is showing you that we have now moved into the realm of multiple timelines. So the original game seems to be on the timeline by itself, and this game seems to be on the timeline by itself. And they're kind of like obviously intersecting. And it seems like that's going to be the thing moving forward. That way they can change things as they want and not really worry about it. I think that's what they're going for. Because by introducing secondary timelines, things don't have to happen the way we originally thought they were. So, to drive this point home, they kind of showed you that Biggs isn't dead at the end. Mm-hmm. He was in a coma or some sort of something at a certain location. I guess since we're already past that point, he seemed to be waking up in his bed that was at the orphanage that he pretty much was at before. So you kind of realize that they retconned a lot of the stuff that they originally did for this timeline's sake, and I thought it was the weirdest thing to do. Like, to be honest, I'm unsure of how I feel about that moving forward. Mm-hmm. This could probably be one of the greatest ways of redoing a story, and it could turn out great, but I'm gonna be honest, I am only afraid because as a long-term Kingdom Hearts fan, I know that when Nomura gets out of control,
we could ask her to help. I'm sure
story just kind of falls the fuck apart in bad ways. And I'm worried. I feel like they contained him enough, but I will say at the end of the game, you could tell that they forgot to close the cage.
Everyone is scared.
So I'm a little scared.
Everybody's scared. I'm even
scared too.
My optimistic self is scared because it's I know Nomura, man, and man, I know where he can go. But tracking back a little bit to point where you're fighting
There's a door in the box.
There's a door in the box. There's another box in the box. But what the fuck? Oh no, I'm not supposed to go this way. But
If him and Kojima got into a room, we all go lose our minds.
True. But what was I about to say? Go backtracking to the moment where you fought the Harbinger of Fate, right? Where you're fighting him and he's showing you all this shit. And you're like, what the fuck is all this shit he's showing me? did you grasp that moment where Red saw his future, and then right after that he was like, seems like it's showing us what would happen. What would happen? What was it? What was his exact line? Something about
he said
the future
like
being the bad.
What'll happen if we fail here?
Exactly. And I'm like, whoa. So
basically, it does seem like, you're probably going in that direction too. It seemed like from him saying that the original Final Fantasy VII was a fail.
Exactly.
Like
because mankind went extinct, didn't it?
Over the course after like 500 years, yeah. Or either it went extinct or Midgar returned to the planet.
Yup, it was the bad ending.
It was the bad ending. Yeah, so it's like, okay, so now it seems like they're going to try to correct it, and this is their opportunity to do that. So, I mean, I look forward to it. I'm not shaming it or anything. Like, I'm not about to be a purist out here and say I wanted it to end exactly how it ended. I mean, if it did, I mean, cool, because then I would have got my remake. But I'm not mad that it went in the direction it went. I just really hope that they take the care and consideration and thought that they put into this one, and the taking consideration of the fans of the original and maybe the new fans of this new one, and not deep dive too far off course.
Right.
You know, because, you know,
like, I hope they just do it just to kind of show you that, hey, we can add things here and there.
Right.
And these things might change the overall outcome, but not the actual, like, we're not changing the destination, but we might change bits and pieces of the journey.
Okay.
I'd be okay with that.
So now I'm about to take you deep, right? We've discussed the ender. You know, we ain't really get too much in the 7 seconds, and at this moment, I don't think we really need to get too much in the 7 seconds. But how would you feel if Aerith didn't die? Do you feel that she really needs to die? Do you feel like the planet could have been saved if she doesn't die? Do you think they can find a new way?
Let me go into why I feel like it has
She needs to die.
Let me tell you why I feel like it has to happen outside of trying to appease purists of the game, right?
Because for the longest, it's been fan-made that majority people want Aerith to live. So what if they try to go that route?
Yeah, but hear me out. They have to kill her now, namely because they've gone way too far with not killing other people. So I feel like in order to make everything just kind of seem like it's right, they may not kill her at that exact moment. I could see them like waiting and killing her at the very end. I could see that. But killing her at Northern Crater at the Forgotten City, yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen, or at least it's not gonna happen when we think it's gonna happen, because I feel like now that she seems to be pulling Harbinger of Fate memory, that she's gonna know what's gonna happen, and she's gonna come up with another plan. Because remember, the original reason why she ended up going into that situation is because Cloud gave him that black materia.
Because Cloud beat her
ass.
ass.
The black materia, she realized that there was nothing she could do. She realized that the only way to stop him was to activate that damn thing to protect the planet. And in order to do that, she had to go there and set it up. Which essentially, you know, led to her getting dicked down by a 35-incher. But it's like, well, in the long run, she's gonna have to die. Like, if they just make it so she lives, then they have to clear up a couple of other things, right? One, they gotta clear up the whole idea of who Cloud's actual love interest is supposed to be, which is gonna be a big mess.
Shit show.
Like outside of
at that point, they have to leave it up to the player. Like at that point, they have to make the player choose. No, they have to make the player choose because there's no outcome where they decide and it's a happy ending.
But I feel like if they leave it up to the players to choose, something is gonna happen because let's say she lives. I feel like somehow, some way, this is also really gonna coincide with fucking Zach. And it's gonna coincide really hard. See, in the first game, they kind of touched on it, but she more so knew, but nobody else knew until after she died. I feel like people are gonna know early, and I'm like,
and that's where I kind of like draw a line. If like say we get to a point where Aerith lives, right? Okay, I can see this. Zach has to die. It can't be.
Does he?
I don't know. I just kind of feel like he.
I mean, look, we got multiple timelines. Does he?
But and then that's another thing.
Because
so
that's
like,
where we are now.
say if Zach is in the same timeline, even though I don't think he is. Say Zach is in the same timeline as they are in, right? I just kind of feel like they would take a cheap shot in order to save Aerith, and Zach dies in her place still, and I still wouldn't be happy with that because now Zach's just dead. He don't get to see Aerith again.
Hear me out. I feel like they're gonna do something weird, right? Where, especially with the way they did the ending where they all crossed each other. I feel like Zach crossed into their timeline and crossed into the timeline. Unless
I don't think Zach crossed over in their timeline. And I don't know. I just don't think they crossed over into where Zach is at. I mean, obviously we know they are in two different timelines for the simple fact that, one, Cloud still has the Buster Sword.
Yep.
Two, that brief moment where they showed that bag of chips, Stamp was completely different. He was a new breed of dog. Those were the two major things that summed up that they were in two alternate timelines, and plus they didn't see each other when they walked down the same path. So I think Aerith knows that Zach probably exists now.
What if? No, go ahead. I'll say.
I was about to say I can see Aerith knowing that Zach exists now. I feel like she felt it, just like she felt it when he died. So I feel like she knows. I feel like if they were to cross over anywhere, I think what they did at the end of the game was cross over to the original game's timeline. So now, I think they crossed over to the original game's timeline, and at that point, everything's off the table.
Yeah. I agree with that. I do feel like we're in the original game's timeline before. And this whole thing that we've been watching, or playing, better to say, has been in its own timeline. So, basically, they moved from timeline over to timeline A.
And then, to dig
timeline A is the original.
To dig a little further, me and you, at least I assume you know, we both know that, at least I think that the Sephiroth that Cloud spoke to in the Edge of Creation was the original Sephiroth. I feel like the Sephiroth that they were all fighting were still clones. Was still a clone.
Yeah.
But that 101 was the original.
Yeah.
And then I guess if you want to dig a little further than that, you might ask, well, how is that possible? How does Sephiroth know what's going to happen? And I think it's because of the same way Aerith knows what's going to happen. I'm pretty sure they both know what's happening, and it's just basically a game of chess between just them two. And
I can agree with that.
I feel like they know, in case people don't understand why I'm coming to this conclusion. In the original timeline, obviously Aerith, if you don't know, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, even though we said it like a million times, if you don't know, Aerith dies. When she died, right? When she died, she became one with the life stream. The same way, when Sephiroth died, he became somewhat one with the life stream. And as Aerith being an ancient, or etc., whatever you want to call it, as her being that, she's in tune with the planet, and I think she could see different results in the timeline. If we're to make Remake make sense, and there's clues of this throughout Remake. Let's say Aerith's in the timeline, and through the planet's cries and understanding the planet, she sees different multiverses, right? At this point, she learns what Sephiroth's going to do. She knows what he's going to do, and then vice versa with Sephiroth, right? Let's say Aerith, being the ethereal being that she is, let's say she decides that she doesn't completely want to die yet and become one with the planet, right? Let's say she decides to follow the live stream, and here she is in the remake with the knowledge of the original game. And it kind of makes sense because of all the clues that Aerith gives throughout the game that you kind of don't really notice. Like, it might tickle your brain a little bit as you play through it the first time, but when you play through it a second time, you notice a lot of shit she do that doesn't make sense. As far as like when Cloud and Aerith met for the first time, obviously Aerith didn't want to leave yet, right? And she kind of wanted to hang around Cloud. And then here come the Arbiters of Fate pushing her ass out, and she realized that. She's like, all right, well, in order for things to go the way they need to go, I need to move on.
But I feel like she probably was about to leave, and that's why they attacked her the first time, so she could stick around to talk to him.
And then, on top of that,
she was talking too long. Like, yeah, get your ass out of here.
Get your ass out of here. And then going from there, there was that moment where she kind of mentioned to Cloud how she spoke to the plant. She spoke to the flowers. And the flowers are like, something's big about to happen, but certain things got to happen in order for it to happen.
Right.
And it's so many cues like
so
that.
So are you saying, do you think that she knows all this stuff now? Because I feel like she didn't know it until like a certain portion in this game.
I feel like she knew it the whole time. I feel like she knew it. I feel like she knew it the whole time of Remake. I'm talking about Remake Aerith knows everything.
Really? I don't think Remake Aerith knew everything until like a certain point in the game.
I'm gonna give you one more clue that kind of backs my point up. The moment you go to the pillar and Aerith's talking to Tifa, they're taking care of Wedge, and Tifa's like, hey, Aerith, I need you to do something. And Aerith immediately goes, you want me to go grab Marlene, right?
Yeah.
Before that point, Aerith
she knew way more than she should have. That may not even be our Aerith.
She knew about Marlene.
She did not know about Marlene.
She did.
At no point
they talked about it. Huh?
At no point was Marlene brought up prior to that conversation.
Are you sure about that?
Positive.
Well, I'm going through this. If I find a moment where it was brought up, I'm gonna bring it back up to you. But I really, really feel like it was brought up at least once.
I can't say that she just knew, because how could she just know if she didn't know Marlene?
I mean, if that's the point, how did she really, really figure out who Marlene was in the first place?
But that's why I'm saying. That's why I'm saying she had to know. She had to know who Marlene was. She had to know who Marlene was because she automatically assumed that Tifa was going to ask her to go get Marlene. But how could she assume that Tifa's going to ask her to go get Marlene if she didn't even know who Marlene was?
It wasn't. What I'm saying is, Marlene was still mentioned beforehand because Barrett
that
was
Aerith
mentioned.
led another Aerith from another timeline to do shit
and
right.
Tifa also had conversations with her at a point, kind of explaining
sent her on a mission.
Bits and pieces of information. She didn't explain, oh yeah, we're part of Avalanche. But she did have a moment where she mentioned Marlene at some
She
point.
never mentioned Marlene. She never mentions Marlene. The closest thing that, and I wouldn't even say it would get to that, because it's not close to it at all. But the only thing that they kind of like really mentioned about maybe like whatever is when they were in the sewers and Tifa was talking about going shopping and Aerith was talking about, can I go too? And they were like, yeah, we'll have Cloud carry the bags. But still, that hits nothing about anybody that Aerith would know in Sector 7. Like, Cloud didn't talk about Marlene, and Tifa didn't bring up Marlene to Aerith. Not in any of their one-on-one conversations or in a out-loud conversation did Tifa or Cloud ever bring up Marlene to Aerith. And Barrett hadn't even met Aerith yet, so...
Yeah.
So, that's why I'm just like, well, how would she know that? And then there was the moment where, say like, if you put all your points in the Aerith while you're playing the game, right? Because this game has a point system, just like the dating system in the original game. If you put all your points in the Aerith, you get a secret scene with Aerith, right? In the beginning of chapter 14. And basically it's a scene where Aerith somehow materializes herself in front of Cloud.
Yeah.
Obviously in his head.
How they did that part.
Obviously in his dreams, and had a full-on conversation with him. And it was like one of those weird conversations where she's like, yeah, I want to thank you for all the memories that you've given me and this and that. Okay, y'all only knew each other for like the course of 2 days.
But see, hear me out on this part. By that point, I feel like she already knew what she needed to know. I don't feel like she knew what she needed to know from the beginning of the game, because remember, when she first ran into Cloud, right? Mm-hmm. And they were talking about those things, she wasn't quite sure what the fuck they were. I think she gained understanding, because remember, at the very, very end of the game, when she would talk about her dealings with them, anytime she tried to do something specific outside of something, she was explaining they were taking things away from her. Like, she loses bits and pieces of herself. But you realize when they start killing them at the end, they start gaining information and understanding that they never had from the original game too. That's where I would say that theory falls apart a tiny.
I don't know.
Think about it.
Go ahead.
I was saying, think about it. She went through the game in the very beginning, seeming like she was just whatever. She didn't really know all this stuff. It's not like she knew Cloud. It's not like she had an idea about what to do. But when the Harbingers start doing things, she started realizing, okay, these things aren't bad. And they showed you multiple times in the game that when it comes to being in tune to like the spiritual aspect of the game, she started kicking into it over time, and it wasn't like I automatically knew. And I feel like where she got to the point where she was full on, I know what the fuck is going on, is when they went through that damn train graveyard. I feel like that jump started a lot of her understanding of the world.
I don't know. I just really think I think it goes further before that. That is just my opinion, for the simple fact that back to the meeting between Aerith and Cloud. If you pay attention for like a split second, it wasn't that the ghost chased Aerith off. It's that she noticed what they were doing, and then she ran off, and they chased after her. Like, she knew, like, okay, it's time for me to go. I need to go to get these things away from over here. So, at least that's how... And then she just bolts straight to the right. And then the ghosts linger for a second. They're like,
because obviously
hold
up. the what's his name show up. But I feel like she realized that, she needs to go, only because, like, before she was sitting there, she was having just chat with him, and the chat was actually lingering for a minute. Right. And then when it came back, and then he got caught, and she noticed, she looked like she was kind of like, oh shit, what the fuck is going on? And then they stopped floating around him. And at that point, that's when she knew, okay, I gotta go. Yeah, I agree. I will say that she kind of understood, like, they're following me, but I don't think she fully understood. Like, at that point, I don't feel like she started the game like, okay, this is New Game Plus, let me fix shit from the start. I don't think she started like that.
I don't think, okay, I don't think she started like that, yeah. But I just feel like
I feel like she got dropped into the world, and then the world started feeding her the information, and then she like hit that epiphany moment where she realized, okay, this is what I'm doing. This is why I'm here.
Okay.
But I don't think it happened like the way you explained it. You explained it like, oh, she knew this whole time. I'm like, I don't feel like she knew, and I feel like the conversation.
I don't think she knew
about the flowers. That was her gaining that understanding. Still,
I don't think she knew that. I don't think she knew play by play that everything was going to play out the way that it was. But I do feel like she had the knowledge, like the basis of like certain things that were going to happen, is what I'm saying. Like, I don't think she had the playbook, but I do feel like the planet was feeding her information. And I kind of see that in like how she was sitting there at the very beginning of the game. She's sitting there in front of that pipe. It just kind of seemed like the planet, and this is just going off of assumption and speculation, but it just kind of seems like that the particles from the planet, the life stream is like communing with her, and it seems like she's communing with it.
Yeah,
so
that I agree.
I just kind of feel like that she knows certain moments, but I agree with saying that she doesn't know the play-by-play, but I really strongly agree that she already knew about Marlene before she knew about Marlene. Like, it's just the way that she brought up Marlene at the plate, where there was no past discussion about it. And then even more, when she says, you need me to go fetch Marlene from Seventh Heaven, right? Tifa pauses for a second like, well, yeah, I need you to go do that for me. Because even she's like, huh? But obviously that's not a time for you to argue that. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, well, if she already knows what I need her to do, then okay, she needs to go do it. It's not time to sit there and think on that. But it looked like it crossed her mind when Aerith brought it up, like, wait a second. Anyway. And then the moment where and this is why I really think that she knows more than she should, is because the moment Marlene touches her, Marlene's like, and it's the same thing with 13. And then even she looked at Marlene and gave her that look like, shh. So I think this is Aerith that knows a little more than she should. She even knew kind of how to explain it at the end of the game, where she's like, yo, we go through this portal, you know, things are going to be very different for what they're supposed to be.
Yeah. Well, at that point, yeah, I feel like that's the full-on epiphany moment, era, at that point.
Mm-hmm. Right. But yeah, that's all I was saying. I was just saying I just feel like she knew more than what she should know at the very early stages of the game. It's just a lot to think of, man. And that's what I really like about it, because it's like, it's not a cut and dry ending.
No, I get it.
So, like, I enjoy moments like these, because then you can sit here and actually talk about it like that. I didn't pause the whole damn game.
Yeah, I noticed.
But, yeah, and then the whole 7 seconds thing is like, 7 seconds from what? 7 seconds from the actual ending of the game? Before your ass got Omni slashed? Or 7 seconds before Aerith dies? Because I've been watching a few videos, and it is actually 7 seconds from the moment Sephiroth comes down to stab her ass. That whole scene is 7 seconds. So is
like
that
the
what
scene of which part?
When he stabs her. From the moment he comes down to the moment he stabs her. Is 7 seconds.
I feel like that's getting way further into the
It probably is, but it's just but the coincidence of it.
The only reason why I will put any stock in what you just said is because once again, Nomura is on this project. That's the only reason why I put any stock in that theory at all.
It's just like, I don't think that's what they're talking about. I think it's the ending of the game before Meteor hits. That's the first thing that came to my mind. But the coincidence of it actually being 7 seconds before he actually stabs her ass, it's just like, Okay, whatever. And then Sephiroth's like, what would you do? So it's like, does the way the game end determines on Aerith dying or not?
So Jason says his theory is that dead Aerith let Aerith from another timeline try to do shit right. Which, I mean, I guess it kind of coincides with what we're talking about.
Right.
I don't think the dead version has anything to do with it outside of, I feel like,
I think it's just her conscience.
She died, she returned to the planet, and then, like, this is, like, some sort of, like, reincarnation of that. Or the planet took her understanding from the one that returned to the planet, and it's feeding it timeline B era.
Right.
So essentially, she's getting the video game treatment where when you die and you hit game over and you start over, and you start
she getting that Persona treatment.
You originally had.
That Persona 5 treatment.
She getting that New Game Plus treatment.
New Game Plus treatment.
She not really New Game Plus because she doesn't start with what she had before.
Exactly.
That's why I'm like, I feel like she's just being
not like
fed
she
the
had
information.
A lot before she died anyway.
Boy. Why you like this?
What's the last thing she get before she died? The fucking something prism? I forgot what it was. I'm fucking dead.
Anyway, back on the rails. She gets her ultimate weapon, and she gets no, she gets all her
So if
ultimate
that is
shit
the case, what about Cloud and how he will react to Zack when he wakes up?
So if that is the case, what about Cloud and how he will react to
the
Zack?
team you saw at the end of the game?
Wake up at all.
The team that you see at the end. Oh wait, hold on. So if that's the case, what about Cloud and how he will react to Zack when he wakes up? You talking about after he falls into the life stream? Is that what he mean? Even still though, I feel like the team that you see at the end of the game and Zack are in two
at the end of the game.
Yeah, but he's saying if Zack survives, what's he gonna do with Cloud from like the one that he's carrying? Because that Cloud's not either is gonna wake up and be the normal Cloud, or he's never gonna wake up.
I don't even know where to go from there, because it's like I can't make sense out of it. Obviously that timeline isn't going to go the same route as either the originals or timeline B. So it's like at that point it just creates timeline C if Cloud and Zack actually had their fucking mercenary business and Zack went back home to Aerith. Obviously Tifa will get explained what happened. Yeah, so it would just, I just feel like it would just be one of those happily ever after scenarios. I don't see how much further that could go.
Yeah.
Zack was bringing Cloud back home to Midgar.
I mean, but does it need to go much further?
Need two Zacks.
I mean,
if the Cloud wakes up, chances are he won't be okay.
Of importance it's gonna play on the story at that point. Like, I know it's gonna play an important part, but
right.
Like,
if Cloud was to wake up,
an important part.
If Cloud was to wake up, obviously he wouldn't take
cells
over.
Imprinted Zack memories on him. Zack is here, so that may not work out.
I mean, if Cloud was to wake up, right, and the cells imprinted on Cloud or whatever, Zack would be there to tell Cloud what happened, and it might fuck him up, but it won't lead to Cloud picking up the persona that he picked up. So, and then Tifa will be there also. So it's just like I don't see where else it could go from there. Like, maybe that's the point. Maybe throughout the second part, it shows like an off-screen vision of what happens if Zack didn't die. I don't know. I don't fucking know. That's just going way too deep into territory, because it's like you can't make no sense out of it right now. The only people who knows is fucking Nomura and Katase and the writer, whose name I can't remember right now. You'd hurt your brain trying to figure out where that timeline is going. And then there's also the case that, okay, maybe Zack did survive that onslaught, but maybe they still add in those 3 soldiers that come in and gangbang his ass. it wasn't showed him making it to Midgar. It just showed him walking to Midgar. He still could get gat down. He's weak as hell still too, so it's still a possibility. And that's another, route that people are leaning towards, is that, well, okay, they showed Zack getting through the onslaught, but he can still probably get gunned down. But even if he still got gunned down, what would have been the point of him surviving the onslaught?
Mm-hmm.
So you'll just be going around in loops trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
The only thing I can think of that would make sense but wouldn't make sense is if they bled Zack into the other timeline and then somehow had to find a way for them to get him out of that timeline. I don't know. Like I said, at that point, theories go off the rails. I don't even know.
It's Leslie. Got some urgent info for the Don.
I love Zack as a character. Crisis Core didn't do the best job with his character, but it did a good job with his character. Like, I like Zack.
It set a basis.
Yeah. Like, Zack was that one where you actually had a hero.
The timelines already were linked in a way.
True. You had a hero that wasn't, stoic or anything like that. You had a hero with
the fact Zack could see the whispers when they went nuts kinda proves it, right?
The whispers kind of proves it, right? Yeah, and then that's the other thing. Zack saw the whispers, so that's why I'm saying it might be some type of bleeding effect, possibly. But like I was saying, as much as I love Zack, in order for Cloud to become the person that he needs to become, Zack has to either die or not be there. So I don't know. Maybe Cloud dies. I don't know. And it's Zack. And Zack is the new Cloud in Timeline C. I don't know. I don't even know. But either way, after you let the ending sit on you for a little bit, it's not as bad as people made it seem.
I thought I told you to round them up and bring them to me.
Nah.
Actually, it's them I came to
At
talk
this
about.
point, I'm looking forward to seeing, like, what changes would they make in part 2 for the better. Like, what things would they explain further and stuff like that. Will they introduce Yuffie earlier rather than later? Because
I mean, they
Square sort
did
of
put in
broke
a
a
lot of
promise that
information
people
about
hate
Wutai,
change.
so.
True. Square sort of broke a promise Square sort of broke a promise that and people hate change. See, as far as that, I'm still on the team that, although they called the game a remake, I mean, we all know that it's not a remake, especially after playing the game. I mean, it is a remake, but it's not a one-for-one. But, I'm still on their side when I say that they did tell you that it is a reimagining.
Yeah.
That was the word that they capitalized in every interview. This is a reimagining of the original game. They even went further and said everything isn't going to be the same. And with that being said, you cannot be mad at Square for the product that we got. Because it's not like they didn't tell you. I don't understand how people could still pop this game in, see the changes, and get mad and say, Square promised me a one-for-one remake. That's not the case. Maybe like earlier on, maybe. Because earlier on, they were like, yeah, we're remaking Final Fantasy VII. But especially in these last 2 years, non-stop, Square has been saying, Nomura has been saying it's not a one-for-one. Katase has been saying it's not a one-for-one. The writer, it's not a one-for-one. Everybody has been saying it's not a one-for-one. It is a reimagining. Even if you look up the definition of remake, it specifically explains that there is some type of new change going on within, expressing new creativity. Like, no, stop it. Stop being little bitch babies. You either like the game or you don't. Okay, that's it. That's all. Hate me or love me for saying that is the truth.
I mean, even looking at it from that point of view, people, this is the Final Fantasy that people love to hate because it's a lot of people's favorite.
Laughing.
So, I mean, as far as it goes, it's only because it's the favorite. Like, there's really no getting around that.
If you're so stuck on how the original came out, play the original. If you want something different, or if you want more of the same but a little bit of different, play the remake. Shit, it's not that crazy.
I mean, it's not like they don't got the original on like every platform.
On like every platform, I check out the channel. I ran through a big portion of Final Fantasy VII, the original, and it looks good. It doesn't look like this, but it still looks good for what it is. So, hey, don't try to muddy up everybody else's view of the game with your negative input if you didn't like the game because it wasn't an exact one for one. Don't do that. Don't spoil other people's image of the game. Stop it. There's also Google. If you aren't sure, look it up. Take some accountability. Anyway. I was talking to somebody the other day. They weren't mad, but they here we are. What is it? Like a week after 2 weeks after the game came out, right? One of my friends messaged me and was like, "Yo, tell me it isn't true. Somebody told me that the game doesn't get to the end of the actual original game, and that it's at it ends at like chapter 18 and I'm on like chapter 16." And I'm just like, I mean, dude, like, did you just walk in the store and buy the game without really understanding what you were buying? Like, honestly, like, I didn't say that because I wasn't being mean, and I don't mean to be mean now, but I just told him, I was like, no, this is the first part, something that the developers have been saying for a very long time. And if you go on YouTube, the first video that you tend to click on will tell you it's the first part. It's not hard to find out. But I told him, I'm like, this is just Midgar. It's going to be multiple parts. I don't know how many it's going to be, but this is the first part. The second part's already in development. So there's that. And he's like, oh, okay. I mean, whatever. It's cool. What I've been playing has been good so far. So I'm like, yes. See?
Yeah.
But
I mean, and that's overall. That's what people need to just kind of understand. It's just like it's full on a retelling. Like,
full on a retelling.
Take it as that. And you can't say, well, don't call it remake.
Like, this whole part right here is not in the original. This is 100% new, and it's character development on a character named Leslie that is actually a good character. And it shows you what Corneo did after he told you about the plate falling. So it's like a win-win.
Yep. Yeah. So you get more information. You get characters and information added from other sources for the game that a lot of people didn't know existed.
Spilling the beans to those
And
three
now
escape
you're,
artists
you
was
know,
a serious
you're in a good
mistake.
spot.
Now I'm on Shinra's shit list.
Because I myself was wondering what happened to Corneo after that shit happened. Especially when you run into his ass again in Wutai. I thought
Yeah.
I thought the shit that happened in Midgar was like a one deal thing. Yet again, here I see his fat ass again, and I'm like, oh.
I'll let you know the secret. Shinra's under abandonment.
Now I know how he got away.
Something close to paradise. I was invited to be a part of it. Dawn of a new and improved wall market.
It also explains why he left Midgar, because
I'll be lucky to live
basically he was a wanted man after letting information slip. So,
Yep.
Leslie. one's gonna let you run your own place.
Oh man, I'm just wondering, man, about part 2, yo. Like, you know, originally they planned with Yuffie was to introduce her when you went to Calm. She was gonna try to steal your materia, but she felt like she was about to be caught, so she just introduced herself, and then she joined the party from that point on. So I wonder if they'll decide to do that, because it seems like they're taking the opportunity to do things that they didn't have time to flesh out when they made the original game, and now they're like, okay, we got this time, we can implement this now and make it make sense.
You were talking about the Sector 7 plan. Keep talking, asshole.
I mean,
Over there.
for that matter,
Don't try to bullshit.
I guess it comes down to, like, how are they going to
It's not technically bullshit.
work in the multi-character system? Because obviously we'll
Yeah.
have 5 characters. They add Yuffie, we got 2 full parties then. And then if we get to the point where we get Sid and Vincent, we'll have 8, which really doesn't,
Play with your food.
you know. Well, I'm sorry, we'll have 9.
Yeah, because Kate's in.
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah. So it's like we'll have 9 total. So that's 3 full parties people. Which I mean, that kind of coincides with how the original went. But it's like I wonder how they're gonna implement it. I feel like they're gonna do a lot of implementation, like they kind of did
At the end of the game.
End of, yep.
That's what I think they're
Which,
going to do.
I mean,
I
I
think
can
they're
see
going to
it.
have assigned like roles, like Red will go with Barrett and whatever, and you'll go with here, and eventually y'all switch places here and there, like they did in towards the end, how they mixed it up and stuff, and you went this way, they went that way, and verse. That's how I think they're going to do it. I don't think they'll have it where that you choose who you want in your party.
Oh, I also think they'll probably have a lot more moments where, you know, Cloud isn't the character you use.
Of course. Definitely.
Like, outside of the obvious one. You know what I mean?
Like, I think that whole... Well, no. Do you think it would be good or bad if, let's say you get to Corel Prison, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say they have you take over Barrett when you get to the Golden Saucer. But
I feel
before,
like
in the original, it was a big
He
surprise.
just was there.
Right, it was a big
Yeah.
surprise when you ran around with Tifa and, well, when I ran around with Tifa and K-Civ, and then you ran into him in the prison, and it kind of went from there because Barrett kept going off screen, and you had to keep figuring out what he was doing. But this time they could actually just have you be Barrett, and you'll see what he's doing. But which one would you like more? Did you like that element of surprise, or would you like controlling Barrett and going through what he was technically going through at that time? I don't know.
I mean, it comes down to it is how many more walking scenes do you want?
Ooh, ooh,
Because, you know,
ouch.
people had a big problem with it.
Moments like that'd be cool. I wonder if they still
I'd
gonna let
rather
you.
see Barrett's POV.
I'd rather see Barrett's point of view. I kind of would too, because then it'll kind of clear up what the fuck he was
You'd rather see
doing.
Barrett's point of view.
One thing I would say about about this part, I was really hoping they took you further than the bridge, though.
Just because we did not see it.
I kind of was really banking on that calm scene at the end,
No, I knew that wasn't happening.
or I was kind of hoping they let you get as far as the
Vincent
Midgard
Mann.
song, the Midgard. I forgot the name of it. Sorry, but the snake, and maybe that would have been your super boss, and I would have thought that would have been cool. It's not like I hate the super bosses in this version, but I feel like it could have been something else. But it is what it is. Either way, I like the ending I got, and I can't wait for part 2. So I think we should probably go ahead and wrap this up. Crash, is there anything else you'd like to add before we go? Any last minute pointers or anything like that?
I mean, as far as it goes, Once again, just to reiterate, for me, this is one of the more enjoyable games I've played in the past decade. I'm definitely going through in hard mode. I'm going to look into, like, probably watching more of the cutscenes, since I'm definitely at the part where I have Aerith around. So I'm going to see if there was ever any actual mention of Marlene up until that point, just to kind of see. Because
Clarify.
I know she saw, actually, I'm pretty sure she saw Marlene. She did see Marlene, and I was right about that, actually, thinking about it. Because remember when they were in the train graveyard, right? Remember when Tifa saw that one ghost that turned into Marlene? They all saw it. And then it changed into something else. And she said Marlene to me, so Aerith knew what Marlene looked like. So she knew when she was explaining, yeah, Marlene, right? Makes sense. Just pointed out they did show Marlene. And Aerith did visually see Marlene because of the ghost too. Because of the interaction that it had with Tifa. Because remember, that was when Tifa started freaking out for a minute. Got out, and then when Elgor came up, that's when she got real fucking pissed off.
That was a misdirection in my opinion.
Stopping her from getting to where she wanted to go.
That was a misdirection in my opinion. I gotta go back and look
Aerith
at it
knew too
again.
much, Tifa
I was
even
about to say, just go
sensed
back
it.
and play the train graveyard.
Cause I'm still pretty much on the.
And I'm just saying that's
route.
also the point in the story where I felt like she gained most of her actual knowledge. Just throwing it out there. It all coincides with what I was saying.
Yeah.
But you know, I guess if people are interested, we'll have another discussion
Definitely.
about other like mini portions of the game, and then we'll kind of, I guess, circle back depending on how much people want to hear about Final Fantasy.
Right.
But if you haven't beat it, I don't know why you sat here and listened to us spoil the whole damn thing for you. You should definitely still go beat it, because the game is very interesting. Any other random things that I want to say? When it comes to playing the story, if it's your first playthrough, if you feel like you missed something, don't worry about it. You'll probably be able to go back and get it during your first playthrough.
Definitely. Give me the damn tab.
Nothing. I was gonna say nothing that I played in this game. Do I feel like that I missed the first time? If I would have just decided to go back and get it, it was worth getting to. Everything is just all about, you know, enjoying how you play through it, and yeah, definitely get into your materia systems, and yeah, that's all I got. Oh, you know, talk.
Ouch. Yeah, hard mode is actually hard. Okay. So if you felt like the game was too easy or normal, go right ahead, hit that new game plus, go straight into hard mode. You'll see the difference. You'll see the how much the game ramps up. I'm telling you, from Hell House on down, I have been having the hardest of times, where every time I had to go back and rethink about what the hell I had on and what the hell I was doing. So look forward to that, and like Crash said, you will be able to go back and pick up whatever you thought you missed, and yeah, go back, get them manuscripts. If you feel like you don't have enough SP points for your weapon abilities, there are more manuscripts in the hard mode of the game, so look out for those. There are some in each chapter for each character. You may want to go and pick those up so you can finish out your weapon abilities, and it's a good idea to sometimes go to Chadley and reorganize your points and your weapons. That is a possibility. You can do that.
Oh, I do have a really good thing to say about that. Come on. If you get the revival materia, put it on somebody at all times. Don't take it. Just leave it there. Even if you're not using it, leave it there. Because it takes so long to level up. And by the time you get to the end of the game, it'll level up.
Yeah.
And you're gonna need it for something. So definitely just put it on off in the corner or one of your characters.
And when you get AP up, link that bitch to AP up. Don't underestimate chakra, and don't underestimate prayer. Those are going to be your breadwinners in hard mode, because you cannot use items.
Yep. So get used to using them in normal mode too. Because trust me, hard mode is so much harder. Yeah.
I've got you covered.
So, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and I'll take this battle as far as I can go. I mean, if I beat it, I beat it. If I lose, I'll see you guys in the next episode. That's pretty much it. So I'm just going to go ahead and say this now. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please continue to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so you can be notified of all future content. And while you're at it, go ahead and follow us on Twitch so you can be notified of all our future streams, including more episodes of Persona 5 Royale. And check out that Assassin's Creed Odyssey playthrough happening on YouTube right now by our friend DC Black. Can you get down here, please? No? Okay. You know, that moment where we were talking about the camera?
You having that moment right now. Ladies and gentlemen, it wasn't a joke.
No need to panic. I can't.
The only time right now where I'm having an issue with targeting. Ooh, yes. There you go. Die, you son of a bitch. That's right, Tifa. Put in that work.
Forgot I had Item Master on. That shit off.
Okay, it's just time to go kill these things. There's no point in me trying to target this goddamn tail. And all these fucking baby Abzus are just running around here. Ouch. Nope. Keep that over there.
Let's do this right.
Oh, she is. I was wondering if she was gonna start at level 50 when I got it.
Okay, fire. I don't have enough.
Bring it. Gotta be smart. I'm not going out like this. I see it.
Ooh, shit.
Let's make it hot.
What you doing? Oh boy. Nope. You know, a summon would be awesome.
You're
Right
gonna have to
about now.
stagger.
I'm
Usually
seeing
stagger
that.
or almost death damage, I think.
Cloud, move. Cloud, why would you stand there?
I watched him stand there too, just like, you know.
I literally just panned the camera over there on him, like, why would you stand there?
Because he can block it.
I mean, dog. I'd rather him had concentrated that shit. That was the case. There we go. Take care of that shit. Get your ass down here. Oh, come here, motherfucker. You pressured? Cloud, please, do the thing.
Do the war. Do the war.
Come on, come on. Oh, he jumped in the fucking puddle, you bitch.
Stay strong.
Whoop. No, actually, this. I'm just running circles around him, right? Oh, you bitch. It paid off. Ooh. There it is. Now we talking. Limit break. I feel like this is too easy. I feel like some cheap shit is about to happen and I'm about to be mad.
Oh yeah, usually this is when the fight actually got a little difficult, so you know they about to really crank that shit up.
I just need Cloud to not die right now. This isn't the time to die. There you go. Barrett, hit him with that cure. Oh yeah, because this is where these things just start tackling you out of fucking nowhere.
Yep.
I need a second to think.
You need ATB bars is what it is.
Nope. Let's see if Ifrit gonna be enough to help me out.
Might be if you use this ability.
Ooh. Oh, wow. He was a bitch. Shit. Woo. I just need a second. A second. Just a crumb. A crumb of a second.
I just need a moment.
Oh.
Just need a moment to take a sniff.
Oh, I'll have to spend it on this one. You just gonna smack up Cloud like that, right? That's what we doing. Alright, alright. Let's see how this is gonna be. Oh! Oh, yep, that's it. That's kind of fucked up because I didn't know it was coming. Wow. Alright. You almost dead, motherfucker. I'm getting this dub. He should be on fire. Pressure this motherfucker.
Oh man, it hit all my damage to everything in the world.
Oh, don't pounce. Fuck. That's it. Shh. Where's it coming from? Oh. Oh. I thought I was out of the way. This chopper. Whoop.
No, I'm just you ain't got on the side.
Nope. Chakra is my only friend right now.
Ooh, what level is your chop?
This is an extra one I had. I think this is the one I just got. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, what?
Always did like a challenge. It hurt.
That reversal call. Whoop. Dead. Ugh. So fucking close. Oh well. Well, once again, guys, thank you all so much for tuning in. I will see you all in the next episode. Yume is out. Whoa.